Welcome back, Morgan here. We just got done talking about what an EC2 instance is, some of the different ways you can configure EC2 instances, and we defined all of those terms. What we're going to do now is we're going to launch an EC2 instance, and we're going to deploy our directory application to that EC2 instance. So we're going to hop in the console and configure one. We've already logged in, so the first thing we're going to do is click on the EC2 service console. So we're going to go ahead and click on EC2, which brings us to the EC2 dashboard. From this point, we can launch an EC2 instance pretty simply. I'm going to walk you through that process now. First thing to do is to click Launch Instance. This brings us to the screen where we can select an AMI. We've already defined what an AMI is. That's our Amazon Machine Image. This is what allows us to configure what operating system, web server, or other software that we have running on the machine. So we're just going to go ahead and select Amazon Linux 2, which is the first one. We'll click Select, and that brings us to the screen where we can choose an instance type. An instance type, again, is what is controlling the underlying hardware and the capacity that hardware can support. We're going to select a T2 Micro because it's free tier eligible, and we'll just click Next to configure the instance details for that instance. All right, at this point, we have to select a VPC to launch our instance into. We'll cover this later, so don't worry about it too much. We're just going to go ahead and select the app VPC. Similarly, we also need to determine what kind of subnet we're going to be launching into. We just need to make sure that we're in a public subnet, and again, we'll talk about that later. Scrolling down a bit, we also have to select a role. We're going to select the instance role for this. Roles are what allow one service in AWS to communicate with another service. Now we're going to scroll down to the Advanced Details section. If I click Advanced Details, it will expand and present me with a place where I can paste my user data. User data is what allows you to define what type of scripts will run once your EC2 instance has launched. I already have mine copied, so I'm just going to paste it here. This script is going to reach out to somewhere in AWS to get our source code, unzip it, and then run that application on our server. So now that we have our user data, I'm going to go ahead and click Next to add storage. We don't have to worry about this for now. We'll talk about it later. I'm just going to leave the defaults and skip through to tags. Tags are a feature that allow you to categorize your EC2 instances. Common tags would be things like name, where you can name your instance, or department, so you can figure out which department owns the instance. We're going to go ahead and add a tag here, and I'm just going to give it a name. So give it a name, and we're just going to name it Demo. At this point, we'll click Next to configure the security group. We are going to select an existing security group, and we can see here we have a web security group. We'll select that one. What this is letting us do is it's going to let us reach our instance over HTTP. We're deploying a web application to this EC2 instance, so we want to be able to reach it over the internet. That's all this is letting us do. So we're going to now review and launch our instance. We get a warning here. That's fine. We don't have to worry about it. We're just going to continue through it. All right, so let's review our instance before we launch it. We have a Linux machine that we're going to be launching. We determine that through our AMI. Our instance type is a T2 Micro. Again, that's our underlying hardware. We have a security group that will enable HTTP access. And if we scroll down, we can also see the tag that we defined as well. All right, so let's go ahead and click Launch and see what we got. Here we just have to acknowledge that we have a private key pair for this. We're not going to worry about this for now. We'll just go ahead and select Acknowledge and launch the instance. Now that we've launched our instance, it's going to take a few minutes to come up, but we can scroll down and click View Instances. Now that we're back at the EC2 dashboard, we can see that our instance state is running, but the status checks are initializing. We're going to wait for those status checks to pass before we go and look at our application. Now we can see our status checks have passed, our instance is up and running, and we can go and access that instance through its public IP address. So we're going to make some more space on the screen here. I'm going to expand this. We can scroll down and see there is extra information about our instance if you wanted to look at it. The only thing that I need is this public IP address. So I'm just going to copy this and open up a new tab so we can access our application. Make a new tab, paste that IP address in there, hit enter, and this is our corporate directory application. You can see right now it's empty. So to test our application, we're just gonna add somebody to this directory and just see that data come back to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and click add, and I'm going to add Blaine into our directory. So for the name, we're just gonna say Blaine Sundred. Location is gonna be USA. Job title is gonna be Lizard Keeper. And we're gonna make him a Mac user and a paperclip aficionado. We're gonna go ahead and also select an image. So I'm gonna choose File and browse to Pictures, and we'll select our image of Blaine. Click Open and click Save. Now we've been redirected back to our home screen, and we can see that we've added Blaine successfully into our application. Now that we've been redirected to our home screen, let's recap what we just did. We decided to launch an EC2 instance, we selected an AMI, configured the instance type, gave it some user data which reached out and deployed our application to this instance, and then it was up. We're able to add data to this application and then see it come back. So now that all that's done, I hope you get a chance to spin one up yourself, and we'll catch you in the next video.